Political specialist Richard Piatt found a couple of Utahns who are among the thousands of staffers putting in overtime on behalf of their candidates. Richard joins us live from Des Moines.
Well, amid all the things that are going on here in Des Moines, Bruce, you're right. Talk about dedication to a candidate. Campaigns literally devour human energy. And I found a couple of Utahns who feel strongly enough about their candidates, Paul and Romney, that they literally put their lives on hold to come here and work for them. On the final day before the Iowa caucuses, Mitt Romney crisscrossed the state. Supporters packed into this event in Cedar Rapids mid-afternoon, Romney asking them point blank for their help.
You guys, I need you tomorrow night. I need every single vote in this room, and I need you to get a couple of other votes from your neighborhood and get them to caucus. I need a great showing here in Cedar Rapids.
It's a full-time job to make Romney's plea translate into votes. And Idaho and Utah native Jacob Fulmer is working on the campaign nitty-gritty 90 miles away in Des Moines. He says he has deep-rooted conviction about his candidate.
I think that Mitt is a very down-to-earth guy. Sure, I can relate to his faith, but that's not the reason that I support him. I think that Mitt is the man to be able to get done what we need to get done.
The issue of faith has edged its way into this campaign. Rick Santorum, Michelle Bachmann, and Newt Gingrich all have prayed at some campaign rallies. But for Sandy native Daniel Hermanson, there is deep conviction about Ron Paul as his candidate. Putting college on hold, traveling to Iowa during the holidays, and volunteering his time, Hermanson is among the throngs of young people on the Paul bandwagon.
Ron Paul talks about this all the time. You know, it's simply a feeling. You know, the message of freedom, the message of, you know, individual liberty, the message that, you know, I'm the dictator of my own, my own affairs.
Paul is currently second in most polls to Romney. He got a rousing welcome this morning in Des Moines, rejecting those who claim he can't beat President Obama.
The most important thing is to recognize the problem and then find the solution. Now, is the solution complicated? Not really. The solution is just looking to our traditions.
For Hermanson, the Ron Paul supporter, and Fulmer, the Romney loyalist, this is more than politics as usual. Both say their candidate has something America needs.
When I consider where our country is and the state of the economy, there's nobody else that I'd rather see in the White House.
You know, I spent my money here. I spent my money to come here. I wanted to volunteer, you know, as soon as I knew I could.
Well, they're hoping that their candidate wins. Of course, tomorrow we'll have to wait and see. At this point, it's a statistical three-way tie between Rick Santorum, Mitt Romney, and Ron Paul. But there's going to be one candidate that you're not going to see here at the Iowa caucuses. Of course, we've been telling you all along, John Huntsman Jr. has decided not to come to Iowa. He's focusing instead on New Hampshire, which of course will host its primary next week. Today, he said that New Hampshire is sending a message to the country about which candidate it sees as most electable.
You've got to lay out your assets and your resources in states where you think you can do the best. This is a state, to be sure, that likes to reward underdogs. I'm an underdog in this race.
And he still is an underdog, too. He is doing a little bit better in New Hampshire. He's now in the double digits, but Romney still is, according to most polls, holding a commanding lead there. We'll have to wait and see about that one. But first, let's get to Iowa. We'll be here live all day tomorrow to tell you what happens here in Iowa, and I'll be reporting on every newscast we've got. Bruce, back to you.
24 hours from now, we may have some information. Thank you, Richard Piatt in Des Moines. Now let's get to the top national story tonight, the latest results from the voting in the New Hampshire primary.
Votes tallied in 89% of New Hampshire's precincts show Mitt Romney with a solid win, 39% of the votes. Ron Paul takes second place, and former Utah Governor John Huntsman comes in third with 17% of the vote.
We have team coverage in New Hampshire, and we begin with political specialist Richard Piatt. Richard.
Well, good evening from New Hampshire, Bruce and Deanie. This was indeed the decisive win Mitt Romney was expecting. It was the third place finish that John Huntsman has been working so hard for so long. The question now is, what happens moving forward to South Carolina? Mitt Romney enjoys back-to-back Iowa and New Hampshire wins in the race for president. The last such Republican win was 1976, when Gerald Ford did the same thing. Romney continues to pound away at the president and the state of the economy.
Tonight we're asking the good people of South Carolina to join the citizens of New Hampshire and make 2012 the year he runs out of time.
Ron Paul, whose grassroots appeal, talk of individual liberty and of eliminating the Federal Reserve, whipped up votes here and in Iowa, too.
Well, on our way, people have asked me what did I expect 5, 10 years ago. I had no idea. I always assumed that the best I could do is set a record. I didn't know you were out there.
But Jon Huntsman took tonight's results as a victory.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're in the hunt.
It appears the hard work in New Hampshire has paid off. Huntsman ran a focused campaign covering every corner of the Granite State for more than half a year.
At least 170 public events in this great state. 170 public events. No one even came close. We had conversations about the importance of putting this country first, ladies and gentlemen.
That focus could also be Huntsman's undoing. NBC chief political correspondent Chuck Todd says from here, it's not getting any easier for Utah's ex-governor.
Very, very tough path for Jon Huntsman. He lived here, he planted a flag here, and he finished in 3rd place.
But nonetheless, Jon Huntsman says he's moving forward to South Carolina. He's already bought his plane tickets. As a matter of fact, all of the candidates are moving forward, and Rick Perry is already there. Reporting live in Manchester, New Hampshire, Richard Piatt, KSL 5 News. Back to you in the studio.
Always moving forward, Rich.
Mitt Romney is the big winner in Florida tonight. Final results show Romney won with 46% of the vote to Newt Gingrich's 32%, and Rick Santorum a distant 3rd. Political specialist Richard Piatt is live in Tampa, where Romney delivered his victory speech tonight. Richard.
Well, Bruce, good evening. Up until the end, and especially tonight, it was clear that Romney was going to be the winner, but the question was, by how much would he win? Right away, the other candidates responding, vowing to overtake Romney going forward. Chanting his name, a packed room full of supporters in Tampa welcomed Florida's primary winner, now back in the driver's seat, to the stage.
Thank you tonight for this great victory.
It was a clear victory, and it didn't take Romney long to act as the GOP nominee.
Mr. President, you were elected to lead. You chose to follow. And now it's time for you to get out of the way.
In Orlando, there was defiance from Newt Gingrich after being outspent and facing a serious challenge from this moderate state.
It is now clear that this will be a 2-person race between the conservative leader, Newt Gingrich, and the Massachusetts moderate.
From Henderson, Nevada tonight, Rick Santorum told CNN Newt Gingrich blew a chance to defeat Romney. Santorum is still a candidate, but he almost offered himself up as a possible running mate for Romney.
And let's focus on the real issue, which is defeating Barack Obama.
Tonight, Ron Paul was in Las Vegas, already campaigning ahead of this weekend's caucus in the Silver State. Paul rejected Florida, also embracing upcoming caucus states as true supporters.
That the problem is too much government. We need more personal liberty.
A crowd pleaser there from Ron Paul. So at this point for the candidates, especially Mitt Romney, it's all about momentum. It's now on to Nevada, where the stakes are just that much higher. Reporting live from Tampa, Florida, Richard Piatt, KSL 5 News. Back to you, Bruce.
Thanks, Richard, and we will be in Nevada on Saturday as well. Jon Huntsman is taking a break from politics, but his campaign's secret weapons are still into it. The John 2012 girls, Abby, Liddy, and Marianne, are still tweeting and still pulling for their dad. Political specialist Richard Piatt is back for round 2. He caught up with the sisters and offers this look at what they're up to next. Richard.
Yeah, they're a trio of good girls. They're a lot of fun, and there were a lot of people who thought that the John 2012 girls were Jon Huntsman's best promoters on the campaign trail, even better than the candidate himself. On Twitter and YouTube, they helped move the campaign forward to a younger generation. Just a few days ago, I had a chance to look back with them a bit as well. The John 2012 girls go to the house where it all began. This North Hollywood home is where Jon Huntsman lived when he was voted king of his class in school, an early political boost.
It's a perfect street.
The quiet one-story house with a big pine tree in front is a reminder of what was. But Jon Huntsman Jr. isn't looking back at this point, probably aiming for the top sometime in the future.
I think we've realized that our dad, and it's very rare in this situation, that his flame has just been ignited. He has so much more to give, and we can tell you that, you know, this is not the last you're going to see
and
of our
he's so
dad.
young.
But for now, this is post-campaign relaxation, and that, for the Huntsman daughters, includes a trip to a North Hollywood landmark, Henry's Taco Stand. A snapshot reminds their dad of where his taco habit started.
He really wants to get into the culture, and he loves to be right there, so.
Yeah, but I have a feeling it started here at this taco place.
His love for tacos.
Their family used to come here on for special occasions, right?
He said it was the big night out with his family to come to Henry's Tacos.
Over tacos, we talked Twitter on these picnic benches. The Huntsman girls were amazed at how young people responded to them so fast.
We were just really surprised at how many people were following us and interested in what we were saying, and we were honest.
And funny, with tweets like this one about their dad's hair being thicker and more authentic than Mitt Romney's. Now, they've got more than 24,000 followers.
People loved our commentary during the debates because we would say things that people were thinking, or we said it in a way that was entertaining, but there's a lot of truth to it. And so I think people thought that was interesting coming from a candidate's family.
It's a great way to get
feedback.
Our generation just even interested or involved with politics, because normally they would not want to go anywhere near it.
Occasionally, a YouTube video did the trick, too. A high schooler saw this takeoff on a Herman Cain ad, Liddy's brainchild, and decided to write a paper about it, a final project to pass the class.
If somebody would have said I was going to be someone's final exam a couple years ago, I would have said, no way, like, that's ridiculous.
But that's how popular they are, and campaign gold for the younger generation.
I think getting out and tweeting and introducing people to our dad in a different way was helpful.
They still want people to get to know their dad, a different John Huntsman since China and his latest campaign. And even now that he's out of the race, they are reluctant to use their online clout to back any other candidate.
We're the John 2012 girls, so at the end of the day, we still support our dad for president, and
we're all writing him in, and that's what you're asking.
Well, they helped me tweet a little bit, too. I needed a little coaching there, and they're just the people to do it. Abby, Liddy, and Marianne say that the hardest part about this whole process for them is that they don't think their dad got enough time with the debates. And for the record, John Huntsman himself is not saying much about his political future, but he might tonight on NBC's Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Stay tuned right after this newscast. Reporting live, Richard Piatt, KSL 5 News.
This is KSL, your news specialists at 10.
An Olympic celebration in Salt Lake City, and for Mitt Romney, a break sort of from the campaign trail. Mr. Romney was in Utah to attend two events, a Stars on Ice show tonight, and to say hello to volunteers and staff from the Salt Lake Olympic Committee.
But political specialist Richard Piatt says nowhere was there a sign of a presidential campaign. Rich is live outside Energy Solutions Arena. Hi, Rich.
No, a little bit of a break for Mitt Romney. As good as it feels for Mitt and Ann Romney to be here in Utah, they even said so. The reality is he's here as a presidential candidate. Mitt Romney emerged from the shadows into the limelight, this time alongside Olympic gold medalist Kristi Yamaguchi, to the cheers of a nostalgic crowd reliving the glory of the 2002 Winter Games.
Governor Mitt Romney.
On the ice, fond memories from the former Olympic CEO of the games, the ceremonies, and the people.
Boy, I love you guys. Thank you so much. What a night this is. What a great experience we had together 10 years ago.
Mitt Romney's appearance at the Stars on Ice show capped a day that's as close to a break as Romney's going to get. His run for the Republican nomination for president is requiring almost as much stamina as the athletes needed to compete. Earlier, Romney was full of emotion as he thanked hundreds of SLOC staff and volunteers.
What I learned from the games is there's power in unity. We came together as a group of people, not caring about who got credit, but caring about putting on the best games in the history of sport. And you did, and I will always be proudest of having been part of the Salt Lake organizing committee for the Olympic Winter Games. Love you guys. Congratulations.
But the heartfelt reunion is mixed with political reality. Romney has some serious campaigning to do in Michigan. Many polls say Rick Santorum is leading Romney right now. Here, no surprise, the crowd is full of Romney supporters, already sold on his qualities to be president.
Mitt was a true leader, and he's one of the few people I've ever known that I would describe that way.
I'm just so grateful to Mitt that he would take time off from a very busy schedule to come here to celebrate our anniversary.
And a busy schedule he does have, a tough fight he does have, more than he counted on probably, as he hits the campaign trail once again and immediately. Reporting live, Richard Piatt, KSL 5 News. Back to you, Keith and Laurie.
Democrats all across the state gathered tonight for neighborhood caucuses. It's a little known but crucial part of the candidate selection process. Political specialist Richard Piatt's live at a caucus location to explain why it's so important. Rich?
Well, good evening, Deanie. Not much warning there. Sorry about that. Everybody knows that in November we elect a candidate, but how do the candidates get on the ballot anyway? Well, it happens here at places like this where I'm standing at a neighborhood caucus meeting, and that'll be happening in just under an hour. Neighborhood caucuses can be as small as this house gathering. This is from a story I did on the Republican caucuses several years ago, but they can be larger too. So why should you bother to take the time to go? Democrats tonight, Republicans on Thursday. Well, it's ultimately about picking a candidate. Before a candidate is chosen, chances are that person received votes at the party convention. That'll happen in early summer for both parties. Delegates have the power to vote for those candidates. They speak for entire communities and can either select or eliminate candidates on that convention day. How do the delegates get there? They're selected at caucus meetings this week.
After redistricting, whoever gets elected this time has a very good shot of being there for 10 years. And a lot of the Republicans are not running for re-election.
Democrats tonight will select 2,645 delegates statewide at hundreds of caucus locations. To find the Democratic caucus location in your voting district, go to utah.democrats.org and you should find where to go. Well, all this starts at 7 p.m. I'm here at Dilworth Elementary School where there are 30 precincts and they'll be electing 64 delegates. People are just now starting to get here to get ready for the 7 p.m. starting time. Coming up in about a half hour, we'll take you inside and show you what's going on as they continue to set up for this. Bruce and Deanie, back to you.
It's another big turnout night for caucuses, this time for Utah Republicans. Thousands of people across the state took part in shaping the selection of which candidates will be representing the party this fall. Political specialist Richard Piatt explains what's motivating them. Richard.
Well, Bruce, like the Democrats on Tuesday, people turned out in droves for the Republican Party tonight. Hundreds of caucus locations and thousands of people showing up, showing that people are very interested, and not only just interested, invested in the process. Ken Forti is dropping his daughter Jennifer off for her choir concert at Riverton High School and kisses her goodbye, wanting to attend but conflicted. He feels strongly about his Republican caucus, too.
We've had 3 kids in choir now, and we really enjoy music and love to come and support them. And we always do, but tonight we're not able to. We've got the caucus meeting.
In Salt Lake, we found a man who gave up his nightly KSL radio program.
There's no work, no night side. I love night side, but this is important.
These are all people who want a say in who their candidates are going to be this fall. A longtime Republican wearing a scarf and a pin and a sweater to pledge her loyalty, not buying the campaign to oust Senator Hatch.
I would rather do that than fall off the rock with some Tea Party people taking over our politics from out of state.
A distant Mitt Romney relative isn't sold on the status quo in this state, leaning toward a challenger to incumbent Governor Gary Herbert, Morgan Philpott.
As far as my research and what my morals and values are, I think he would be our best governor.
It may be all about November 6th for most people, but it starts here. People concerned enough to take action now.
It's the candidates and it's just the state of the country at large.
Well, like the Democrats, there are high hopes from Republicans in this political year, high hopes for change. And like both parties, success is going to depend on participation from the people involved.
Good evening. Republicans will have a primary in the race for county mayor.
Political specialist Richard Piatt shows us what happened as both parties narrowed the field of candidates today.
For Salt Lake County Republicans, this year is a chance to reclaim the county mayor's office, a spot held by Democrat Peter Caroon for 2 terms.
Important issues for you to consider are
Who can beat the Democrat in November?
That was the common theme to delegates from the candidates, but the unpredictable group couldn't pick just one candidate from the field of 5. Results forced a primary between former County Councilman Mark Cronkite and West Valley City Mayor Mike Winder. Both candidates say they plan even better penny pinching on the county level. Cronkite with both business and government experience, Winder from experience in his city.
If the budget weren't so important, I don't know that it would matter, but you can't just go in and say, here's all the stuff we're going to do. There's a skill set, and it's not really learn on the job.
He's been on the county council, but I've actually served as a mayor, and a mayor of the second largest city in Utah with some great successes, and I think that can translate into being a successful mayor of Salt Lake County.
Thank you, Salt Lake County.
The fact that Salt Lake County has one of the largest budgets in the state didn't escape the Democratic candidates' view either. At Murray High School and a convention with record turnout, Ben McAdams beat fellow state Senator Ross Romero after 2 rounds of voting.
I look forward to talking to all of the residents of Salt Lake County and bringing home my message of supporting our schools, cleaning our air, and bringing quality jobs to Salt Lake County.
A little disappointed, understandably, with the results, but we need to get behind our Democratic candidate, make sure we keep the office in Democratic hands, and move forward trying to build communities and build the party.
Democrat McAdams now has the luxury of focusing on a race without a primary. So for county mayor, it's 1 Democrat against 2 Republicans. Mike Winder and Mark Cronkite have until June 26th to distinguish themselves to Salt Lake County voters to decide who's going to be the main candidate this fall. Richard Piatt, KSL 5 News.
And good afternoon. 6-term Senator Orrin Hatch must face a primary challenge from State Senator Dan Lillenquist in June.
We have team coverage of the state conventions with political reporters Richard Piatt and John Daly. Let's start with Richard at the Republican convention at the Southtown Exposition Center in Sandy. Richard.
Well, results are still incomplete, but we think it would be safe to say, Bruce and Lori, that most of the news on this political day is coming from the Republican state convention here in Sandy. That's right, there are a number of very contested races, a number of candidates in some very important public offices right now. The bottom line, though, as you mentioned, Senator Orrin Hatch is going to be facing a primary with State Senator Dan Lillenquist. The governor will not be facing a primary.
I hope you'll vote for me. I need you.
In spite of 2 appeals from Senator Orrin Hatch to avoid a primary, a handful of delegate votes disappointed him. Hatch will continue campaigning, pitting his experience and seniority against Dan Lillenquist's business experience and youth.
But if the delegates who voted for me know that without experience, Utah is going to be in trouble. I'll quote Greta Van Susteren. She said, if Utahns don't vote for Senator Hatch, they're going to lose their clout.
It is time for a new generation of leaders. We know it to our bones. The Senate is changing. In the last 7 years alone, we've had 49 new senators. There are more to come. And this new generation of leaders will take this country forward. And I'm excited to be there.
The winner of that race will face Democrat candidate Scott Howell, who says that it's time for a climate of collaboration in the U.S. Senate. And he now senses opportunity.
The citizens of this state deserve a balanced government. There couldn't be anything better than to have a Republican senator and a Democratic senator. You know who wins on that? Each and every citizen of this great state of Utah.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor.
Back at the Republican convention, Governor Gary Herbert avoided a primary with 63% of the delegate votes after a first-round runoff with Morgan Philpott.
I like Peter, and we'll have a spirited contest. And I'm going to run to win, of course, and I think that my values and what we've done warrants re-election. We've got the state clearly turned around economically.
Herbert will face Democrat General Peter Cook, a race Cook says is calling for unity.
And this state needs to bring us all together and to have the feeling that we all know and need is of unity and helping each other out in a great state that could be and will be better under my administration.
Political specialist John Daly will be along in just a couple of minutes to talk about the congressional races, but rounding out what happened here at the Republican convention so far, for state auditor, incumbent Austin Johnson is going to be facing a primary with John Dougal, and for Attorney General, John Swallow will be facing a primary with Sean Reyes. Back to you, Bruce and Lori.
Utah delegates put politics on hold a bit because of the storm in Tampa. They decided to put together hundreds of emergency hygiene kits.
Kind of a different day for them. Political specialist Richard Piatt spent the day with our delegation, and he joins us live from Tampa. And Rich, to say the least, today did not go as planned, did it?
No, it didn't. This isn't what the original plan was at all, but of course our delegates made the most of it, and a lot of them told me as they were making these kits that they're not doing anything that Mitt Romney wouldn't do himself if he had time, and that's the political hook, humanizing Romney and drawing together his faith and his politics.
We give back. We're going to leave Tampa better than we found it.
140.
Instead of a convention hall full of speeches and pomp and circumstance, it's a room full of soap, washcloths, toothbrushes, and toothpaste. They assembled hygiene kits here, a GOP convention event that's a step beyond politics.
And no matter what faith, what background, we can all be there for each other. That's what this is all about.
We need to help our brother in need, and if we can do that in just a small way here today, that's just great to do.
David Nielsen is running the show here, even inviting delegates from other states.
If you're from Hawaii,
From Hawaii, the feeling that Mitt Romney would be here too, if he could be.
Mitt Romney is a very compassionate person, and I think this kind of goes along with his message and how he would be as a president.
A Romney friend, fan, and delegate from Arizona says she's convinced that if more voters across the nation knew Romney the way she does, the election would be decisive.
he really is a leader, and he's focused on making a difference and helping other people. So I wish it would come out more.
I feel like you got my whole body in there. Well, those kits aren't going directly to any disaster victims right now because there aren't any here in Tampa. They'll go instead to an LDS storehouse, and then they'll be brought out as needed. And in the meantime, our delegation is back to the work of getting excited, really, about the nominating process this Thursday. Deanie, back to you.
Hopefully they won't need them, but that was a nice gesture. Rich, since the convention was put on hold today, a lot of the things like Mitt Romney's opening speech, I know Ann Romney was supposed to speak today, they're being shifted till tomorrow. What can we expect then?
Well, we have a condensed program for sure, but we do have some Utah connections tomorrow. Congressman Jason Chaffetz is going to be speaking in the afternoon, and then congressional candidate Mia Love from the 4th Congressional District, of course, is going to be speaking at around 7 o'clock tomorrow night local time. That's 5 p.m. Utah time. And then, of course, the roll call, the nominating process will begin tonight, too. That's moved up, so we've got a lot packed into the remaining days ahead.
Republicans in 10 states will vote in presidential primaries tomorrow. At stake is the largest number of delegates so far. Political specialist Richard Piatt is live in Columbus, Ohio tonight to tell us what voters are thinking. Richard.
Well, good evening, Bruce, from the lawn of the Ohio State Capitol. By this time tomorrow, as you mentioned, Super Tuesday is pretty much going to be over, and we'll have a really good idea of who the likely presidential GOP nominee is going to be. Until that time, it's very much up in the air, and the voters around here, I can tell you, are very fickle. Mitt Romney is working hard to connect with people at places where people are hardworking. At this sheet metal plant in Canton, Ohio, Romney promised more jobs.
What I know is the economy. I spent my life in the real economy. I understand why jobs come and why they go.
Rick Santorum sought connection too at an Amish restaurant called Der Dutchman in Plain City, Ohio. It was here a young woman asked for and got his autograph.
I'll be voting tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure who I'll vote for, but yeah, we'll see.
Santorum told me encounters like that make him realize Ohio isn't necessarily Santorum country.
Governor Romney has spent $12 million in the state, and we've spent about $1 million. And the fact that we are still in this race and have a chance to win it shows you very definitely that Ohioans really like Rick Santorum.
What's at stake here is 419 delegates in the 10 Super Tuesday states. Romney is way ahead of Santorum right now, 203 to 92. The prize is the 1,144 needed to win the nomination. Good news for Santorum at Der Dutchman, a couple of converts from Russia, Ohio. They were Obama supporters, now for Santorum.
this year we were really impressed with Mr. Santorum, and so we decided together that tomorrow, when you always have to say whether you're Republican or Democrat, we're going to declare ourselves Republican.
Yeah, there needs to be a change in this country, and I think, this might be a shift in the right direction.
And so, while Romney and Santorum duke it out up here in the north, in Ohio and several other states, the state of Georgia is very much Newt Gingrich territory. But as John Daly reports from Atlanta tonight for us, the neighbor to the north is quite a different story.